Before I ask you about working with Selma and Lincoln, I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier. You did the show Bowie and His Soul. And one of the things that I noticed then and admire still about you is that you create your own projects, that you may not have gotten work in theater early in your career, but you created your own work.
I had to. I had to. I believe that I wish I had the liberty to just be an actor, but it wasn't it but I'm glad I didn't, because in order for me to stay hopeful and to build and to stay in it, I had to, if I wanted to to be a part of some roles that were complex and interesting and leaned into all the things that I can do, I had to write the material. So I wrote the material, and then I had to direct some of the work. And because I wanted it to exist, I had to find a way how to produce the work. So I naturally became all of these things out of necessity to do the work that I felt like I cared about.
And Coleman, when I saw A Boy in His Soul, at the time I found it so uplifting and revolutionary because you, as a black man, are on stage talking about coming out to your parents.
Yeah. I wrote this, it is a love letter to my family and to the memory of my family and that time and to soul music. I was writing this play when I was bartending in the West Village at a little jazz club. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, the club would empty out, and I would have to stay till 4 in the morning. And so I was going to be useful. I was writing, and I was writing what was going on in my life, which was I was taking care of, not really taking care of, but like I had both my parents were both suffering from different illnesses, and they lived in Virginia. And they asked me to, to sell our childhood home and be responsible for that in Philadelphia. So I would go from New York to Philly, check it out, work with the real estate broker and everything, and take care of my parents' home, as they were both eventually, by the time I finished writing the play, they were no longer on this earth. So, but the play became about resilience and how you have to go to your records, literal records, that have all your songs and all that meaning and all that heart. And my character was in the center of it, navigating his own course, trying to find himself as a young man in the world, being a queer man as well, but also just being love. And so I selfishly got to be with my family for 90 minutes a day, playing all of them, wrestling with all of them. And it really became a love story and a dedication to that time and that memory and that time capsule, so everyone can see and view their families. And how do you make it through when you no longer have that family home or those living relatives anymore, but you have those records inside. So that's what it became about. And that's what I think has been key to a lot of my work, is to, I know I have a lot of family in my work. And as a writer and as a performer as well, I care deeply about how we care for one another and how we love each other and how we can be love. And so I know that's threaded in a lot of my work.
Yeah. And thank you. But you came out and you never thought I'm committing career suicide by stating, I'm a black queer man. This is who I am.
You know why? Because, and I'm not going to cry again, but it's because I've been loved deeply. My parents were such good parents, and they were fun and funny and interesting and weird. And they inspired me to be exactly who I was and told me I can be anything, I can do anything without limitation. And to remind myself to not put limitations on myself and on my abilities. And whatever the world thinks I am, you tell the world who you are. And that's exactly what I've done. There was never a moment, it never made sense to me, even when I started out as an actor when I was 21 years old that the industry would tell me that I can't be my whole self. It didn't make sense. I know for others, people were, respected. They were, in the hiding in the closets and the sides, and I think they never felt that they can be themselves. But I feel like I don't want to live my life that way because I come from love, and I can be who I want to be, and I can play everything. That's what I always believed, and I believed that the universe would treat me that way. And as I've been looking at my own journey, it's been true. I would have every so often I would get questions that I thought was just so odd. Like when someone would like I'm a person just naturally. I walk in and I let it be about the work. I'm not going to tell you about my personal life, whether or not if I was straight or gay, because I feel like when we get to know each other and know each other a bit more, I'll tell you a bit more about me. But I walk in leading with the work, and I feel like I'm not walking in with a lot of other agendas. I'm like, when you get to know me, you get to know all of me. I'm not hiding anything though, But I feel like, and I think that that has been key and in helping me navigate this in every way. But I feel like, but I think times have been changing, which is great. And I know that I didn't recognize that I was doing anything unique until a student told me that at a talk back one day. Says, you know that you're standing in spaces that is really unique.
Correct.
And I did, and thank you, but but I didn't know because I think I just have my head down doing my work and being the person that I am and being sincere about it. And I think that, and I always want to support people to say, no, be exactly who you are. I've supported many friends who've come out in this industry, people who literally have had a friend who was like very nervous. And I said, I don't think the work will change for you. I said, you have to trust that. But also, I always believe that if you're holding anything as a secret, you can't be your fullest self in any work. I think your work suffers as an artist, you know?
Absolutely. But I mean, you are breaking grounds because nobody thinks about Colman Domingo, a gay actor. They
No, I
think
got
of
I got
you.
wives, I got husbands, I play everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you are
But that's what
you.
I kind of like. I love the fact, like last season, when we had Rustin in the world and the color purple at the same time. I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I got women being like, "Ooh, Mister,"
yeah.
and then I have, and I'm like, first of all, I'm like, he's an abuser, so you shouldn't feel that. But they're like, "Ooh, but he looks sexy." I'm like, "Cool, yeah." Or I actually love when I let's say I'll go to Essence Fest in New Orleans and the women are going crazy, and I love it. I remember I had this young woman say, she said, "Oh, I know you're not on my team, but I'm so attracted to you." And I'm like, I'm, and Eileen, I'm like, "You can still be attracted to me. Come on, you can do it." We're all lovers. We can all love each other, right?
But, so we saw Lincoln and Selma, small part, big movies, but there was rejection happening.
Oh yeah.
And you were trying to knock doors and auditioning, and things weren't happening.
Both films, I was living in a rent stabilized apartment in New York City. And first of all, I got to tell you a story about that. When I saw that, I'm like, there's a link. Not only David Oyelowo is the
In
link,
both films, yes.
which is wild because we shot Lincoln together. I didn't know David at all. And here we are, two soldiers opening the movie, talking about getting the right to vote. And then years later, I'm minding my business. I'm trying to, work on my solo show, Buena Soul. I was going to do a production in Philadelphia. And I got an offer to do the film Selma. And I already had a commitment to this theater. So I turned down Selma at first. And they thought, are you crazy? And I thought, I'm a man. I try to be a man of my word. I'm like, no, I'm committed to this small theater. I'm going to do this show of mine. It's my own show. And then Ava got on the phone with me and says, it's the thing that I love the most when someone say, we need you. We need you. I think this is something this is about these leaders and it's in service to humanity and we need you. And I had to think about that and I thought, somebody needs me, especially for this. So I leaned into that. And then that scene that you showed from Selma was the first day of shooting. and um, our DP said, "I've seen this before. I've seen this frame." And we were here so confused. We're like, "Oh my God, it's Lincoln." And it's the same two actors 100 years later talking about the right to vote. So somehow David and I are deeply connected in service from Lincoln to Selma.
And then later on, you'll be playing Rustin talking to Martin Luther King.
Exactly. To my
So
friend Amel, who was in the movie The Butler with me, playing the young butler of of Forrest Whitaker, and I play the White House
I'm
butler.
gonna
It's all
continue.
connected, you
I'm
guys.
gonna continue up when you and Selma walking hand in hand with James, who is in Beale Street.
Yeah. Oh my! I didn't even put that together. Who plays my son-in-law? Look at this. This man has done his work. Oh my gosh.
You're hand in hand.
Hand in hand. But that's why I believe something about truly standing in these history pieces with these artists that really are like my family. And I will tell you this. I was going to save this for later, but I guess I'll open this up now. The first time I came here to Santa Barbara was for Selma. I'd never been to Santa Barbara, and we were greeted so warmly. I remember coming to this theater. I sat right back there, and I was so moved by all of it because Oprah had the Legends That Paved the Way event as well in Montecito.
And you're getting the Montecito Award
It's
from
all
Oprah.
connected. From Oprah, it's all connected. It's all
Yes.
connected.
Yes. But I want to go back quickly to Selma. Ahead of his time, remarkable. Ava DuVernay, brilliant, brilliant director, brilliant artist. And I was watching the film recently, and the fact that she brought in women leaders, gay leaders, it's just ahead of its time.
Yeah. We the most beautiful thing about that film, and I never forget it, and it really helped me in other work like Rustin. When you get to have an audience with these civil rights leaders, whether it's C.T. Vivian or John Lewis or Sidney Poitier, Quincy Jones, we were able to meet with a lot of people who really did this work and get to know them and get to know how they were outside of the history books, what they ate, how they laughed, how they joked, things like that. That was the joy of all of it. I think the whole thing that Ava put together was ahead of its time.
But soon after this, you were ready to quit the business. You were frustrated.
Yeah.
Tell us about why were you ready to quit?
Because I thought, listen, I was moving into my mid 40s and trying to be sensible. Because I thought after a while, there's an actor's life is a bit of a roller coaster. It is. And you got to be in for that ride where you're always sort of playing catch up financially. You're taking regional theater jobs. You're teaching here. You're bartending here. It's a bit of a yo-yo. And after a while, I thought that I started to amass a certain amount of things in my career. And I thought that, with any other job, you'll get a raise or things, you get a promotion. But I would go back to zero. I would go to the highest of heights performing on Broadway in a celebrated show that's eventually filmed by Spike Lee, and it would close, and we finished filming, and I would go back to my bartending shift, and usually it wasn't the best night because I left, so I would get a Tuesday night or Wednesday night, and I would, I remember when I left Passing Strange, I was like 2 weeks later, I was broke. I was borrowing $100 from a friend of mine because in that show, I was starting to make very minimal Broadway money, but I was catching up. So the show needed to run longer, and I didn't catch up enough. I was like paying bills from way back and student loans still. And then eventually, when I did the Scottsboro Boys, I was on that journey, And it was after Skyscraper Boys when I almost left the business because I did it on Broadway. I did it on the West End. I had great runs. It's such a powerful show. It had all these elements that I believed mattered. I felt like it was the best work I could possibly do and how I can appeal to audiences, you name it. And I go back to New York, and the auditions I was getting were just not where my heart was. It wasn't challenging. It wasn't moving the needle in any way. Pay, nothing of it made sense. So I remember I was just auditioning a lot. I was burnt out auditioning, and any actor will know sometimes you get burnt out. You're learning 10 pages of dialogue a night. You're not getting paid for that work. You're constantly, believing that you can't have a life because you have to stick around for what they call pilot season. You can't go anywhere. You can't have a life. And then you're auditioning every day of the week. And then I had a very small, modest agency that I was with, and I can tell that because I just believe no one was seeing my tapes. I believe my tapes were not being seen. And I know for sure it wasn't. So the work was just going into a vacuum, and I just got exhausted and I got tired. And I remember that I had this one audition. I had a series of auditions, maybe 8 in one week, and I was waiting for a yes. And my agent called me. I was at the gym, and she said, "Hey, it was for this role that seemed to be tailor made for me. I went in, the casting director loved me, the producers loved me, everybody loved me. They all said they loved me. I wore a tuxedo, I did a little tap dance, a soft shoe, I sang a song. I did everything in this audition. And it was a period television show.
Boardwalk Empire.
That's what it was. And it was to play the sort of the MC of Chalky's nightclub. So I did my best work. I thought I did a callback. They loved me. I get a call. My agent says, "Hey, they all loved you. Everybody loved you." But then a researcher put their hand up and said, "Hey, but you know that the MCs in clubs at that time were all fair skinned." And I literally thought I couldn't take it anymore. I said, "They knew what I looked like before I walked in there. I feel like everyone's fucking with me." And I literally burst into tears at the gym, leaned up against the wall, and I was heaving, crying. I said, "I think this is going to kill me. I can't do this anymore. I can't do it. I don't want it to make me bitter. I love what I do so much. I have to stop." And my agent was like, "Where are you? I'll come get you." I said, "No, no, 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 no. I just have to stop. I have to stop everything." I leave the gym, go home. My husband's there with his sweet, sweet face. And he says, and I say, "Would you be okay if I did something else? Because I can't do this anymore." And he said, "I'll do whatever you want. We can leave New York. We can do whatever you want." And with that love and faith, I was prepared to do something else. And then I was telling one of my dear friends, Daniel Breaker, who I did Passing Strange with, I was telling him about, me starting up I had a headshot business. I used to take everyone's headshots. I probably took a few in this room. And I was going to just continue with that because I was making good money. It was a good side hustle. I was going to make it my main hustle. So he said, "Hey, my managers, Brian and Corey, they loved you. They would love to work with you." I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm good. I'm good. I want no more meetings." And but then he kept going, and he said, "They're good guys. And just meet with them. Even if you're going to leave the business, just meet one time." I did. Roger, it was a terrible meeting because I was in a funky attitude. I think of myself as delightful and charming most of the time. I was none of those things in that meeting. I sat there, arms folded like this. "So tell me about yourself." Colman, "Well, this is what I do. I do this, that, and the other. I was just in the West End, blah, blah, blah. I do this. I play all these characters, whatever. What you think?" And they literally like, "Well, we would love to work with you." And I was like, "Why?" And they were like, well, we think you're talented. We just think you need to change certain things and we can work with you. I said, how about we work together for 6 months and see what can happen while I'm trying to get my photography business going. Cool, wonderful. We made some huge changes pretty quickly. And within a month, I booked Fear the Walking Dead and another show with Baz Luhrmann called The Get Down, which I had to make a choice. It was a Sophie's choice of shows. I was like, let me do something I've never done before, is lean into this genre thing. And it took me on an 8-season journey with Fear the Walking Dead and sort of gave me my footing back in the industry.
Excellent. Nice segue into, let's take a look at clip from Fear the Walking Dead, where he plays Victor Strand. And we're also going to watch a clip from Euphoria, where he plays Ali, and he won an Emmy for Guest Actor in the Drama Series. Let's take a look at Fear the Walking Dead and Euphoria.